Okay, so let's start laws of life training. Alright, so the first thing we'll talk about is leadership, and the whole training is actually based around leadership, and the things that you'll see I'll be covering, they all apply about the way we lead people, the way we lead groups, the way we lead our business. So the first thing then on the list, as you can see, is challenge to be more than mediocre. To step up to a new level, a new dimension as a leader. That's what you should be aiming at. Now, this new dimension has few things. It has the opportunity, but also it has the responsibility. Very often people become leaders or team leaders with people in their teams, and understand that there is a massive opportunity in that. As we've just seen in the video, there is a massive opportunity. However, a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that they have a responsibility that comes with that too. Now, who wouldn't want this responsibility that goes along with that opportunity that builds an extraordinary life? Most people would want that. Be strong, but not rude. It's vital to be a strong person as a leader, but you do not have to become a rude person. Also, we need to learn to be bold, but not a bully. So we need to seize that opportunity, but we don't have to push our team members. We don't have to force them to do anything. And leadership by invitation, not by threat or aggravation or intimidation. That shows the weakness of the leader if you use those things. What you need to be doing is leading by invitation, giving people an opportunity and letting them choose it for themselves. And also leadership by inspiration, inspiring people to move up the next level, to aim for the next big thing, to just do things instead of just saying things. The inspiration can go a long way, and if you are an inspiring person, if you do inspire your team, you'll see the results you could never imagine. And being kind and not weak. A lot of people confuse kindness with weakness. They say if I'm being kind to others, then it shows that I'm weak. And it's not. Sometimes being kind actually takes a lot of courage, in spite of other things, to be kind to others and to show kindness to other people. Not to look after yourself, but look after others genuinely. And being thoughtful, but not lazy. It is important to think before you do things, but it's important to act too, not just to think there. Being humble but not timid. Now, being humble is a virtue. However, being timid is an illness that we need to treat and we need to cure. Being proud without being arrogant. Now, arrogance is a childish attempt to make up for lack of self-worth. And obviously, arrogance from ignorance is the worst kind of arrogance. Because if a guy is smart and arrogant, we can tolerate that. But if a guy is dumb and arrogant, that's just hard to take. Okay, so let's have a look at our first law, a law of sowing and reaping, or a parable of a sower. So, the law says that wherever you sow, you reap. And to deserve the harvest, you must plant the seed and take care of it. So thinking about the business, we need to invest the efforts first before we can reap the results. Something that is so simple, however, very often is misunderstood. Very often people expect massive results without putting in the effort. They expect the harvest before they even plant the seeds. And if you sow good, you reap good. And you can't reap flowers if you sow weed. You cannot expect a different result. If you're building a network of leaders, you cannot expect to have a network of leaders. Whatever you plant, this is what you're going to reap. And sometimes it doesn't work at all too. There's a story of a farmer, where the farmer prepared all of his farm. He planted the seeds in the spring. He nurtured and took care of it the whole of the summer. And then the autumn came, nearly the time to harvest. And then a massive hailstorm came and destroyed all of his crops. Now he has two choices now. One choice is to say, it doesn't work, I'm not going to plant anything anymore. Or the other choice is start over again. And sometimes you do need to start over again. Sometimes even though you nurture somebody, you treat somebody well in your business, you try and help them, try and teach them everything you know, they're just not going to produce any results. And if you decide to give up, you give up on yourself and your business. If you decide that this person maybe just wasn't the right person for the business, and you start with a new person and teach them everything you know again, you might reap. So whether or not to do it again or not, it's your choice. And more often than not, you reap what you sow. More often than not. And this is a not guarantee, but the odds are good. More often than not, it's better odds than in Las Vegas, I can tell you that. More often than not, is a good odd. So, the story goes and says that, behold, there went out a sower to sow the seed. Now, two things we need to bear in mind. First, he had an excellent seed. He had a good story to tell or an excellent product to sell. The second thing, he was an ambitious sower. He was an ambitious sower that wanted to reach his goal. And this is what you need to have. Before you even start your business, you need to have an excellent seed. Now, our business, our product is the best seed you can come across out there. But the second thing is up to you. Second thing, you have to provide that. You have to be an ambitious sower. So, the first thing happens, and it came to pass as he sowed, that some of these seeds fell by the wayside, and the birds of the air came and took them. Now, somebody didn't get to meeting that you invited. You invited quite a few people to come to the opportunity meeting, and they didn't turn up. Or you invited quite a few people to come to a perfume party, and a lot of them didn't come. Well, the birds got them. Alright, maybe not literally. However, what can we do about it? Absolutely nothing. Things will come up. Things will happen, you know. Somebody spoke to them, somebody took them out of it, and they didn't come to you. They'll just wait. I'll find that person who spoke to them, and I'll rip them a new page, right? Nope. Wouldn't sign up for that lesson. What you can do, though, is not go chasing birds. That's not a good deal. What you can do is you should keep sowing the seed. That's what the ambitious sower did. He kept on sowing the seed. And you also can sow more than the birds can get. So this is where the law of averages will come, and we'll see that later on. But if you sow more than the birds can get, if you sow more than the people can talk out of, then you will have people coming to the opportunity meeting, and you will have people coming to perfume party. You will never have 100% turnout. However, if you sow more, you'll have more. And you depend on the law of averages. Not trying to solve every problem. You just can't do that. You need to concentrate on the numbers. Okay, then the next thing says that, and some fell on a stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. Now the hot weather will get some, and you'll invite people. You know, somebody will be really excited, they'll join the business, they'll sign the contract, they'll buy the starter kit, and then somebody will say, boo, and they'll quit. Now, can you do something? Absolutely not. There's nothing you can do. Some people will change their mind. The hot weather will get them, you know, because they don't have these deep roots, they haven't got yet much knowledge about the business, they haven't got yet much experience about the product. As soon as somebody says boo, some negative experience, some rejection, they'll quit. There's not much you can do about that. All you can do is keep on sowing. Now the next thing happens, and some fell among thorns. Now the thorns grew up and choked it to death, and it died. Now our thorns will get some. You have to be prepared for that. You know, and thorns are the little cares of life, little duties, little distractions, and they will always be in the way. You know, you invite somebody to the meeting, you invite John to the meeting, and John doesn't come. So you ring John the next day and you go, John, I thought you were going to come to my meeting. And he goes, yeah, but my cupboard's door fell. You know, you go, John, I thought you will be coming to a perfume party and you didn't turn up. What happened? And he goes, well, you know, some extra trash piled up in my garage, you know, and you can't just let piles of trash, you know, take over your house. And things like that will happen. People will get distracted by these little distractions, and there's nothing you can do. Even people who are already in the business, they will get distracted. There's not much you can do about it. So people let these little things cheat them out of big opportunities. And that is shame. But there's not much we can do. It's a little heartbreaking to watch, but you can do nothing about it. All you can is keep reminding them, you know, the opportunity is next week as well. You know, the training is next month too. So if you miss this one because of your rubbish or because of your cupboard door, make sure you come to the next one. That's all we can do, is invite, invite, invite. Now, some other fell on the good ground. So finally, you know, I can catch, you know, you thinking, oh, how much of this can we go through? But yes, some of it will fall on good ground. And it will always fall on good ground. If you keep sharing a good idea, it will someday fall on a good ground, a productive ground, a receptive ground, a decision-making ground. Now your seed is your opportunity, your product. If you keep sharing it, it's bound to hit home. It's bound to find people who will be productive, who will be receptive of it, and who will make the decision to join your business. However, before it reaches that, you saw the journey. Lots of things can get in the way. Now, if you give up before you get to the good ground, then you lost the fight. You lost the fight to the thorns, you lost the fight to the birds, you lost the fight to the heat, and to all the other things that can stop you in your way. You cannot give up. The one thing you cannot do, you know, they say that in network marketing, the best thing you can do is do it right. The next best thing you can do is do it wrong. The worst thing you can do is not do it at all. So do it. Now, when it fell in the good ground, it yielded fruit, and that sprang up and increased, and brought 30%, some 40%, some 60%, and some 100%. Now this is how it is in your business. Not everybody will do it. People have different ambitions. Some people will come to this business for a part-time income, few £100 a month cash, and that's okay. But some people will come for a full-time income of a couple of £1,000s a month, and that's great too. But some people will come to get tens of thousands of pounds a month, and that is super good. Now, can you make people either way? Absolutely not. You just have to take it and like it comes. You know, you can't change it. When I first started, I said, you know, I'll make them 100%, you know, even if it kills me. I nearly died. You know, you cannot do that. You just work at the level they want to work and help them as much as they want to be helped. It's like seasons. You can't just say, I'll take 2 summers, a spring and an autumn. No. You've got to take them like they flow. It's exactly the way you take the people who come to your business. Some will want to do a lot, some won't. That's okay. You just take them as they come. The inevitable erosion of life says that there is always going to be more freshmen than seniors. Not everybody will make the whole journey, and that's okay too. People will quit. You know, not everybody who started will finish. Some people will plant in spring and leave it in summer, and I've seen it. I've seen it in this business. People would get on the right start. They start building the team, start introducing people, start selling the product, start making money, and then they quit. Why? You know, I wouldn't sign up to that lesson. They just do. And maybe they'll come back 6 months later, maybe they'll come back a year later, but it's their choice. If you want a lot of graduating seniors, what you must do, you must keep loading the freshman class. If you want a lot of leaders in your team, don't try to make the zeros into 100%ers. Instead, keep loading the freshmen in. Keep bringing new people into your business. Not only that that new stream of new people will make more leaders, those new people also will revitalize your business. They will revitalize the sleeping ones. You need to do that. You need to keep having a constant flow of new people coming to your business. Now, we come to the law of averages. Now, law of averages is as important as the law of sowing and reaping. Now, if you do something often enough, you get the ratio of results. Once you understand that, the world is yours. And I mean it. In sales, for example, when you're getting started, you talk to 10, get 1, buying the product or joining the business, and that is the beginning. Once it starts, it tends to continue. So you keep getting that 1 out of it, which is great. So you speak to 10, get 1, speak to 10, get 1, speak to 1. Fantastic. In baseball, they call this batting average. And nobody bats 9 out of 10 in baseball. Nobody bats 10 out of 10. People make $5 million a year batting 300 out of 1,000. That's 3 out of 10. They make $5 million a year doing that. So, if you even get 1 out of 10, you can start to compete. You know, somebody who's been in a business for a while, they might be getting 9 out of 10 if they're lucky. And they'll say, whoa, how are you going to compete with me? But you'll say, okay, let's do 30-day contest. You speak to 10, get 9. I speak to 100, get 1 out of 10, get 10. I win, don't I? This is what it says. The law of averages is on your side. The more people you talk to, the more people will be interested in your business. The more people will be interested in your business, the more people will come to the opportunity meeting. The more people come to your opportunity meeting, the more people sign the contract. The more people sign the contract, the more people buy the kit. The more people buy the kit, the more people do the business in your company. The more people do the business, the more leaders you'll have. It's all about that. So, here is what I do if I'm new. I make up in numbers what I lack in skill. I make up in numbers what I lack in skill. Now, very often I find new people coming into the business and saying, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it, you know, etc. And they worry themselves to death. What I always say, just do it. Just get out there and start talking to people. Whatever you lack in skill, you make up in numbers. And with experience, the skill will increase. And when my skill increases, I don't need to do 100 to get 10. The law of average can be increased, and that is really exciting. So, in time, you'll get better at it, and you'll get 2 out of 10, which is fine. Then you'll get 3 out of 10, which is super fine. And that's what you want to do. You want to grow, and you want to develop, and you want to build your skills. Now, there is an old rule of 80-20. It's also called Pareto principle. Now, what this rule says is that 20% of people do 80% of the business in your organization, and other 80% of the people do only 20% of the business. And that's how it is. And it's something that you have to do. Now, you might say, oh, I'll just sack the 80% and just leave the 20%, but it doesn't matter. If you sack the 80%, out of the remaining 20%, 80 will do 20, and the other 20 will do 80. It's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's something you work with till you understand it. Now, it can serve you in time management. How? You only give 20% of your time to those 80%, and you give 80% of the time to those 20% that achieve the most. Now, the pull is the other way. You know, guess who wants 80% of your time? Obviously the ones that only do 20%, the ones that don't really succeed, and they will want 80% of your time. What can you do? An answer is work individually with the 20% achievers and by groups with the rest of the 80%. This is the key. And guess who wants one-on-one sessions? Of course, the 80%. However, what you can do, you can say bring the questions to the training. So the person rings you up and says, oh, I have 10 million questions. Fantastic. Bring those questions to the opportunity meeting so others can learn too. And it's a great way of teaching people. Now the next law we're dealing with is the law of faith. Now law of faith is vital in this business. Faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. How important it is in network marketing. How important it is to see the things that don't yet exist in your account, in your team, in your life. Faith can turn, not turn, the difficulty into reality, positive reality. That's how powerful it can be. It can turn difficulty into reality. Faith is the ability to see it as it is. It doesn't ignore the negative, it uses the negative. If we ignore the negative, we don't achieve anything. If there was no negative, there would be no need for faith. If everything was okay, why would you need faith for? Everything is not okay, and there will be negative things. But instead of just getting pessimistic about it, you can use those negative things to move you forwards. But also, you shouldn't see it worse than it is. Don't make a disaster out of it if it's something manageable. So use the negative for your own advantage. By failing, you learn more than by winning. And he says, I genuinely wish you lose. Because when you lose, you learn more. And this is so important. And faith sees it better as it is. So faith sees the eventual outcome. Could you see beyond the mess? Could you see the tomorrow? Could you dream the dreams? Could you plan, visualize, use your imagination to see where this business will go? If all you see in this business that you're making £3.80 from a bottle of classic collection, that's not going to change your life. That's not going to change anybody's life. However, if you see that this business 3 years from now can give you an incredible income, and I'm talking tens of thousands of pounds a month, and a fantastic Mercedes that comes along with it, well, that is big. That is seeing it better than it is now. Faith makes it better than it is. Faith must be invested in a muscle. If you invest faith into action, you can take any situation and make it better. If you have the belief in your product, in your business, and you have the belief in yourself that you will achieve and that the business will work, you can change anything. And faith doesn't see it more than it can become. There is a thin line between faith and folly. Now, it's great seeing yourself as a millionaire, but not overnight. Not overnight. It's not going to happen that fast. How many people do we meet in this business who expect to get all that money, all that fantastic income at the top of the marketing plan next week, next month? And when the millions don't come instantly, they give up. Now, faith helps us not to see it more than it can become. It helps us to see it as it is, as long as it takes. And plenty is possible without being foolish. You can still have a fairly super life without being foolish. If you plan it ahead, if you set out a plan and you dedicate yourself, maybe in the next 5 years, to put all your efforts into this network marketing business, into this company and into this product, you will see results. I promise you that. And that's not foolish. And the result will be worse than you first see it too. You need to look under the surface. You need to look underneath. Because very often we imagine that it's all going to be a walk in a park. Sometimes obviously it's the way the business presented, but very often it's us imagining it that, it's going to be so easy. Everybody will just join my business. People will queue up outside, waiting for the product till I get back from the distributor center and bring it to them. It's not going to happen. You need to see, why are you being paid such an extraordinary amount of money in this business? Because it isn't easy. It's simple, but it isn't easy. And you need to see that it could be far more in the future than you can first see. When I first saw this business, I thought there's only a few £100 a month extra that you can make with it. But then when I saw people getting this income, getting the Mercedeses, I realized that there's so much more. The big picture is so much bigger than what I originally thought it was. So ask for more faith and walk the next 100 feet. When you walk the 100 feet, you'll see the next 100 feet. When you walk those 100 feet, you'll see the next one. You know, you can't see everything all the way in the beginning, but you just need to go one step at a time. Now, working with people is an essential part of being a leader, isn't it? So we need to learn how to work with people who deserve it, not the ones that need it. Very often we look at our tree and we see all of those zeros, and we are tempted to spend our time with those zeros. However, do they deserve our time? Absolutely not. A lot of people say, I need more money, but do they deserve it? Do they put the effort in? Do they put the time and effort, the sweat, into getting that extra income? No. Most of them don't. But they still expect to get paid. They still expect to get the money without deserving it. Now we need to teach people to take the step if they want to help. I always say to my team members, whatever you do, I'll double it. You come to the meeting, I'll come too. You organize a presentation with somebody who's interested in the business, I'll do the presentation. You organize your team into your house for training, I'll come and do the training for you. You take a step, I'll take 2 steps. But they have to take the step first. If they're not willing to take the step, I won't take any steps either. So, teaching people how to deserve it, it starts to accelerate their self-esteem. You cannot imagine how we receive, how better it is, how fulfilling in life it is. Self-esteem brings about the action. Action brings about the progress. Progress brings about the fortune. And that's what we're all aiming at. Don't expect a pear tree to give apples, though. You know, if the person started, they have one agenda, you cannot expect something else from them. If they started just to have a part-time income, you cannot expect them to become a worldwide leader if they don't want it. You know, you need to just work with them. See what they want from the business, not what you want from the business for them. Let them do whatever they can do. And you can't change people, but they can change themselves. That is so important. So the best thing you can do is inspire and hope. Be the inspiration for your team. Be the example for your team. Be the person who does the 300 points. Be the person who does the 1,200 points. Be the person who goes to the opportunity meeting and to the training. You will be an inspiration to your team, and you'll be surprised how many people will follow you. And give recognition and rewards for those who deserve it. So if people do follow you, if you do inspire them and they do change, do recognize it and give rewards. And I can say now that today I am a wealthy man. Not necessarily in terms of money, but I am a wealthy man. Because of my heritage. The things that I was blessed with. My parents. The country I live in. Books that were written before I was even born. Courts and the system. Airplanes, telephones. All of these things that I didn't have to invent. That they were ready for me when I came along. I've inherited those, and I'm really glad for it. Also my experiences. Your experiences are wealth and a commodity. The things I've already experienced from starting this business 2 years ago are just beyond what I ever expected to experience, what I ever expected to see. And you need to use those experiences. Use them as your story. Use them as the convincing. Use them as a face for your business. My friends, the support system, my sponsors who I can truly call my friends, and also my team members. Without them, I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't achieve what I'm achieving. And again, people that will go with you Doesn't matter where. Doesn't matter when. Doesn't matter where. Doesn't matter how. You know, having friends that, you know, even if you got, you know, to some obscure country and you got in prison, you know that you can call that person and they will come and get you. You know, for whatever reason, they won't ask any questions. They'll just come and get you. Not the friends who say, you know, if you ever get back, do give me a call. And we need those too. But real friends, the friends that you can go to war with. My knowledge, those who passed their knowledge on to me made me rich beyond belief. Not in the money-wise, but even if I lost everything that I made, I could recreate it again and again and again because of the knowledge I gained. Because of what I've learned from other people, from the trainings, from the videos, from the presentations, from everything. That knowledge is invaluable. It's more than any millions in your bank account. And you should ask for an unusual awareness. I always ask for an unusual awareness, to be aware of what's happening around you. You know, to see what's going on here, the opportunity, to grab it, not to see it and wave it by, but to be on that train and go with it. You know, to be there the first, to be the one invented it, to be the one who came up with the idea. That is power. And my future, the good things that are all to come. We all have this fantastic future awaiting us. We just need to choose to go there. Now I'd like to leave you today with a challenge. The challenge to let others lead small lives, but not you. Let your life not just be acceptable, but memorable. Let others cry over small hurts, but not you. Let others waste their resources, but not you. Learn to help people with their lives and not with just their jobs. And if you work on your gifts, they will make a place for you. If you work on whatever talents you have, be it speaking to people, be it training, be it selling, be it building a business, be it networking, whatever it is, work on those gifts and they will ensure a space for you in life. You'll make you valuable. It'll make you an asset for other people, an asset in other people's teams.